You're suggesting here is something I think if I can read into what you're saying, it has implications for science and for the scientific community.
We're locked in this apparently solid, substantive reality. The universe has many, many levels of reality. We just haven't accessed the level that shows us how profound and magical that reality is. What I'd like to do next is I'm working on a book that is the practical application of this holographic idea and all of its various phases. We've got to understand that we have this enormous capability, but our conscious mind feeds it all kinds of things unwittingly and gives it all kinds of mistaken directions. And I want to write a book that really deals with all these things on all kinds of levels, saying, here are the practical applications, how it ways that you don't have to deal with the very sort of heady space-time aspects of these things.
Right after making that statement on TV, he died in a very strange way. His name is Michael Talbot, an independent researcher who had decoded reality, or multiple realities, something most people were never supposed to know. He passed away suddenly, and his ideas forced many scientists to question what they thought they knew. Talbot's central claim was bold. This world isn't the only one. There are parallel realities happening at the same time, but we can't normally see them. By the late 20th century, quantum mechanics had already exposed cracks in the traditional view of an objective universe. The double-slit experiment revealed that particles behave differently when observed, suggesting that the observer is not outside the system, but part of it. Rather than dismissing this as an anomaly, Talbot treated it as the foundation of understanding existence.
Reality in a hologram can manifest in two ways, as a concrete image or as this sort of indecipherable blur of energy. An analogy to this is kind of when you're watching Johnny Carson new television set, that's really, his image is encoded in two ways. One is as the concrete image on the TV set, one is as the blur of radio waves permeating the living room. And if the universe is a hologram of some sense, in some way, it suggests that there may be two very drastically different levels to reality, that the concrete reality we see, you know, when we look at these chairs and at you know, the trees and the clouds and everything like that,
Our bodies
are just one way that reality manifests, and that at some deep level there's a level of reality where everything dissolves into an ocean of energy that is holographically interconnected, where every portion of the universe is contained in every tiny area of the universe.
From this perspective, reality is layered. Each level of perception connects to deeper levels, and all of them converge into a unified field where the division between mind and matter disappears. Within such a framework, death is not an ending, but a transition, a movement into another layer, similar to shifting frequencies. This wasn't presented as vague speculation. It was a coherent framework. Matter depends on consciousness, not the other way around. For ordinary readers, this was a shocking reversal of common sense. For certain institutions, it overlapped with secret research into altered states and perception.
If you take two subatomic particles like electrons, and in certain instances, when you do something to one, it will always affect the other, no matter how far apart they are. It's kind of like stories that you've heard of identical twins where when one is hurt, the other feels the pain. And the problem is that we can find no process known to physics that explains how these could be sending a signal back and forth. In fact,
because it would have to be faster than the speed of light.
Instantaneous. It would have to be an instantaneous signal, and Einstein's theory of relativity said you can't have instantaneous signals because it would mean that you could violate the time barrier and conceivably call your grandfather and tell him not to marry your grandmother. And most physicists say, well, this would be just too troubling to incorporate into a rational picture of reality.
Think about identical twins. There are countless stories where one feels something the moment the other is hurt or in danger, even if they're miles apart. It's hard to explain that in normal physical terms. Talbot connected this with what physics was already finding at the quantum level. Particles that act the same way, linked instantly no matter the distance. And if matter itself can stay connected like that, then maybe our minds work through the same hidden network, connected in ways science still doesn't fully understand. If the universe is holographic, then everything we experience is interconnected, and every part reflects the whole. Time, space, and matter may not be absolute, but flexible, shaped by deeper laws we don't yet fully grasp. Talbot suggested that life and death are part of one continuous spectrum, where consciousness moves across realities rather than vanishing. Just as this message began to spread more widely, he died, and what he left behind continues to raise questions about the very structure of existence.
At a deeper level, a very holographic level of reality, every particle in the universe collapses to a sort of cosmic unity. They're not signaling each other. They're like that fish where there's the level of the aquarium. And so what that means, talking about words, is that there is no separation between electrons. Furthermore, there's no separation between people. And this has all kinds of very boggling implications, one of which is that we've always tried to understand, for example, psychic phenomena, like how could I get information out of your head in my head, as some sort of signal going back and forth. But if we're organized, if we live in a universe that's organized holographically, you no longer have to tackle it that way. It could be that I have the entire universe and every neuron, every cell, every atom, every electron in my head, and you do also. So when we can access that, we can access information that seems to be beyond our normal sensory reach.
This was one of his most provocative claims, that separation itself is an illusion. If every part of the universe already contains the whole, then the idea of being isolated, whether as particles or as people, simply collapses. What appears as distance is just part of the projection. In that sense, telepathy or intuition would not be about sending signals back and forth, but about accessing a field that already holds everything, everywhere, at once.